Spectacular loss by the man who is Northern Ireland's First Minister, but for the moment he's hanging on as the party leader and as the First Minister here, but no longer MP here in East Belfast. The bigger picture, as Jeremy Vine was talking about, is fascinating concerning Northern Ireland MPs, and the focus is on Peter Robinson's party. He didn't get elected, but 8 of his colleagues did. Speaking to the Democratic Unionists this morning, they say they're open to offers from either the Tories or Labour.
All right, Mark, thanks very much. Let's go to Edinburgh now and join our correspondent there, Lorna Gordon. And what's the SNP saying about a possible deal, Lorna?
Yes, well, we've been hearing in the last hour or so that Labour has made overtures to the SNP. The SNP say they will take up the offer of civil service advice. They say they have a duty to look at all the options, but a fascinating election result here in Scotland. The Tories and the SNP had very big aspirations. Neither of them met it. And in fact, the Tories have been left with just one MP north of the border. So if David Cameron does become Prime Minister, the SNP will probably be arguing where is the mandate to govern in Scotland.
All right, Lorna, thanks very much. Lorna Gordon in Edinburgh. You saw a brief glimpse of our correspondent Colette Hume there in Cardiff. Let's get the picture in Wales. Colette.
Labour remain the largest party here in Wales with 26 of the 40 seats up for grabs. But make no mistake, the voters have given Labour a bloody nose. Their share of the vote is the lowest since 1918. Better news for the Conservatives. They increased their haul from 3 seats up to 8. Now, the Liberal Democrats didn't have a good night. As you were hearing, Lembit Opik lost his seat controversially. Could those appearances in celebrity magazines have contributed to his downfall? And Plaid Cymru had 3 seats, still has 3 seats, was hoping for more, but there is still hope for Plaid Cymru. Its leader is on record as saying he is prepared to give his support to a party in government if they concur with his key demands. What are they? He wants an extra £300 million a year for Wales.
All right, Colette, thanks very much. Let me just bring you up to date with where we are at the moment. The Conservatives have 298 seats, Labour have 253 and the Liberal Democrats have 53. We were expecting a statement from the Prime Minister, Gordon Brown. Let's talk to our political editor, Nick Robinson, who's in Downing Street now. Nick.
We're expecting the Prime Minister in the next few moments. I think this will be an update designed to get his version of events out before David Cameron does at 2:30. I've been talking to people close to Gordon Brown. On the one hand, they say he understands his responsibility not to give up the fight when it is still possible that a Labour arrangement with the Liberal Democrats could produce a government. But I'm also being told by some of those close to him, he understands that the Liberal Democrats may want someone else to lead a future government. That strikes me as Gordon Brown and his friends preparing the way for him to show the willingness to stand aside, to resign as Labour leader and Prime Minister, to allow someone else to form a coalition. Now, it may not happen for some time, but that is clearly what is being discussed inside Downing Street now as they try and work out what deal, if any, could Labour make with the Liberal Democrats in order to hold on to power.
Well, Nick, the Conservatives will be saying, hang on, we've got 32% of the share of the vote. We've got more seats than Labour. Why can't we have the mandate to govern?
They certainly will be doing that, and I'm sure that that's what David Cameron will argue when he makes his statement at 2:30, insisting that Labour have lost, that he has won by any normal judge of the matter, and calling on all parties, including the Liberal Democrats, to help him govern in the national interest. It's pretty clear that David Cameron will not want a coalition, and even if he did want one, he wouldn't get agreement from his own party and party members. It's pretty clear he doesn't want electoral reform and wouldn't get agreement on that. So in a sense, what he has to do is adopt the mantle of Prime Minister, start to act as if he's the Prime Minister and defy the Liberal Democrats to bring him down and take the consequences in terms of attitudes in the market, the hostility that they would meet in the newspapers, and he hopes the hostility that there would be from British public opinion as well. What will be intriguing at 2:30, and we're getting no guidance on this, is what, if any, offer will he have to make in terms of their involvement, not necessarily directly in government, but their involvement in the key decisions ahead.
So, Nick, this is the Prime Minister, in effect, firing a shot across the bows of David Cameron as leader of the Conservative Party, getting his public statement in first and trying to kibosh whatever David Cameron's going to say.
Well, he's certainly, if not getting a shot across the bows, David, he's certainly saying, I'm still in this game. I resist the notion that it is now your turn. It is just as much my turn. And he will keep repeating that the constitutional settlement in this country says that the sitting Prime Minister is the Prime Minister until they're not. In other words, until they discover that they can't secure a majority in the House of Commons and then feel forced to resign. So what we're seeing here, in a sense, with all these statements by the major party leaders, is a battle for public opinion, positioning as well, an attempt to intimidate their opponents and sometimes to woo them. But I am sure that Gordon Brown wants the country to know he is, at least for the moment, and Labour certainly are, still, as far as he can tell, in the game of trying to form a stable government.
But you know, ever since Gordon Brown became Prime Minister back in the summer of 2007, people have been saying he has no legitimacy, no political legitimacy, because he wasn't, and of course it's in a sense a fallacious argument, because there have always been Prime Ministers who haven't had general elections. But anyway, that was the pressure on him. It would be very strange, wouldn't it, for the Labour Party to choose a new leader now, just after an election, and then put him forward, or her forward, as Prime Minister? Presumably that's what they're thinking of.
It would be strange, David, but listen carefully to what Peter Mandelson, effectively Deputy Prime Minister, key strategist behind the scenes here, said on our programme when he first came on early this morning. He said that he accepted that the country had voted for change, but they weren't sure that the change they wanted was the Conservatives. If, and it is a big if, but if Labour want to present to the country a government that they say is stable, a government that will take the right decisions they will claim on the economy and political reform, they can say it is change, in part because it's a coalition involving the Liberal Democrats and new faces, therefore, around the cabinet table, but ultimately because it was led by someone new. Now, it's an extraordinarily bold thing to do. If they try it, it would risk, as you say, angry cries from people who say, well, look, we've just had an election, we've just had prime ministerial debates. Who is this guy that you are now asking us to accept? But on the other hand, if that is what is necessary for Labour to stay in power, that is what I think they'll do. The one thing we've learned today, David, we knew that Gordon Brown fought and fought and fought to hold on to power. What is also clear is that Labour are not letting go.
Nick, thank you very much indeed. Well, it is absolutely fascinating.